Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So here we are, and Suvasni Didi has just joined us. Glad you could make it,
Sorry.
Didi.
Yeah, sorry, it's yeah, something going on and it got delayed a little bit. Sorry about it. Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Glad you could still join us today.
Yes, okay.
Um,
So you're in you started, yeah? Good.
we've started, yeah. Well, no, we're
Okay.
just about to start. Um,
Okay.
so I think we're on verse 13, right? I I believe so. Um, and we're hearing how the devas, right, they're being disturbed by the destruction of Hiranyakashipu, and they've gone to Lord Brahma to ask for, well, they haven't specifically asked for anything, right? They were quite clever in that they simply came and represented what was going on and left it in his hands to decide what was the appropriate way to deal with this. Um, so we can pick up there. Didi, do you want to lead us then? We're on verse
Yeah.
13, I believe.
Okay. Tavasanam dvijaghavam parameshtyam jagatpate bhavaya shreyase bhutyai shemaya vijayaya cha.
O Lord Brahma, your position within this universe is certainly most auspicious for everyone, especially the cows and Brahmins. Brahminical culture and the protection of cows can be increasingly glorified, and thus all kinds of material happiness, opulence, and good fortune will automatically increase. But unfortunately, if Hiranyakashipu occupies your seat, everything will be lost. And let's look at the purport here. In this verse, the words Dvija, Gavam, Parameshtyam indicate the most exalted position of the Brahmins, Brahminical culture, and the cows. In Vedic culture, the welfare of the cows and the welfare of the Brahmins are essential. Without a proper arrangement for developing Brahminical culture and protecting cows, all the affairs of administration will go to hell. Being afraid that Hiranyakashipu would occupy the post of Brahma, all the demigods were extremely disturbed. Hiranyakashipu was a well-known demon, and the demigods knew that if demons and rakshasas were to occupy the supreme post, Brahminical culture and protection of cows would come to an end. Okay, I think we can move on from there. Verse 14.
Iti vignapito dever bhagavan atmabhurnrupa parito bhrigu dakshadye yayo daiteshvarashramam.
O king, being thus informed by the demigods, the most powerful Lord Brahma, accompanied by Bhrigu, Daksha, and other great sages, immediately started for the place where Hiranyakashipu was performing his penances and austerities. Purport, Lord Brahma was waiting for the austerities performed by Hiranyakashipu to mature so that he could go there and offer benedictions according to Hiranyakashipu's desire. Now, taking the opportunity of being accompanied by all the demigods and great saintly persons, Brahma went there to award him the benediction he desired. Right, so Hiranyakashipu, he was performing the severe austerity, right? I'm remembering now. So all this disturbance was being created in the environment because of that. So Lord Brahma is coming to pacify him by giving him some benediction. Okay, verse 15 and 16.
Nanadasha pratichanam valmika trina kichakai pipilir kabir achirnam medastvan Mamsa shonitam tapantam tapasa lokan yatha bravihitam bravim vilakshya vismita praha hasamstam hamsa vahanaha.
Lord Brahma, who is carried by a swan airplane, at first could not see where Hiranyakashipu was, for Hiranyakashipu's body was covered by an anthill and by grass and bamboo sticks. And right, we've seen that painting, haven't we? Because Hiranyakashipu had been there for a long time, the ants had devoured his skin, fat, flesh, and blood. Then Lord Brahma and the demigods spotted him, resembling a cloud-covered sun, heating all the world by his austerity. Struck with wonder, Lord Brahma began to smile and then addressed him as follows. And let's find a painting. There's that very striking painting, isn't there? Hiranyakashipu anthill images. Oh, I'm not seeing the one I'm thinking of. Well, my search terms weren't that great. Tapasya. Let's try tapasya. Okay, here, is that it? I'm not sure. Here we go. Here we go. This is the one I'm thinking of, which I think everybody's seen. Oh, but it's not great resolution. But anyhow, gives us some idea, right? Quite extraordinary. And this was in Satya Yuga, right? We hear in Satya Yuga persons did have this kind of capacity. It's said that as long as one's bones were intact, a person could maintain their life force. So, how many millennia would that be, right? Before your bones would disintegrate. Oh, here we go. Here's a better one. Yeah, so in Satya Yuga, we hear as long as one's bones are intact. And then in Cheta Yuga, it's one's nervous system. Dwapara Yuga, I have not heard. And then Kali Yuga, it's food. We're dependent on food. We need to eat food, every few hours in order to survive. There we go. And there's Lord Brahma arriving on his airplane. Okay. Struck with wonder, Lord Brahma began to smile and then addressed him as follows. Purport: the living entity can live merely by his own power, without the help of skin, marrow, bone, blood, and so on, because it is said, Asango hyayam purushaha, the living entity has nothing to do with the material covering. Hiranyakashipu performed a severe type of tapasya, austerity, for many long years. Indeed, it is said that he performed the tapasya for 100 heavenly years. Since 1 day of the demigods equals 6 of our months, certainly this was a very long time. By nature's own way, his body had been almost consumed by earthworms, ants, and other parasites. And I think that painting we saw was not depicting how, it was probably an actually horrible sight, from these descriptions that we're hearing. This is a kind of more attractive version of what was going on, but I think it would have been something, a little disgusting even to see from this description. So finally, Brahma could ascertain where Hiranyakashipu was, and Brahma was struck with wonder to see Hiranyakashipu's extraordinary power to execute tapasya. Anyone would conclude that Hiranyakashipu was dead because his body was covered in so many ways. But Lord Brahma, the supreme living being in this universe, could understand that Hiranyakashipu was alive but covered by material elements. It is also to be noted that although Hiranyakashipu performed this austerity for a long, long time, he was nonetheless known as a Daitya and Rakshasa. It will be seen from verses to follow that even great saintly persons could not perform such a severe type of austerity. Why then was he called a Rakshasa and Daitya? It is because whatever he did was for his own sense gratification. His son Prahlad was only 5 years old, and so what could Prahlad do? Yet simply by performing a little devotional service according to the instructions of Narada, Prahlad became so dear to the Lord that the Lord came to save him. Whereas Hiranyakashipu, in spite of all his austerities, was killed. This is the difference between devotional service and all other methods of perfection. One who performs severe austerities for sense gratification is fearful to the entire world, whereas a devotee who performs even a slight amount of devotional service is a friend to everyone. Since the Lord is the well-wisher of every living entity, and since a devotee assumes the qualities of the Lord, a devotee also acts for everyone's good fortune by performing devotional service. Thus, although Hiranyakashipu performed such a severe austerity, he remained a Daitya and a Rakshasa, whereas Prahlad, although born of the same Daitya father, became the most exalted devotee and was personally protected by the Supreme Lord. Bhakti is therefore called Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, indicating that a devotee is freed from all material designations, and Anyabhilashita Shunyam, situated in a transcendental position, free from all material desires. And this reminds me of this. There's this one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he quotes this one line. I don't remember who the author is. Maybe someone here can. One English poet. Is it Milton? I think maybe Milton, John Milton. Peace. It says, peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war. Peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war. That, it requires so much effort, right? To, what we're hearing this description of Hiranyakashipu, right? What extreme, and it's impressive. It says even Lord Brahma is impressed. He's astonished to see the level of tapasya that Hiranyakashipu can perform. It is quite extraordinary what type of power of renunciation he has. Everyone's coming in. Welcome, everyone. So it's quite impressive, but on the other hand, Prahlad Maharaj, he's not performing this, extraordinary physical achievement, but his accomplishment is in a more subtle sphere, right? And as this poetry is saying, that's not to be derided, that is not to be considered less. Just because there's not this impressive physical display, that does not mean that there is something less there. But this is actually an achievement that is far more profound, but it is on the subtle side, right? Because ultimately what is being, what we're seeing here, Dandavat, Vinanda Krishnati Sundari in the kitchen, and also Divya Shakti joined us, Chaitanya Doya, Nazar, Ramananda, welcome everyone. Because this is the plane of ego, right? Dealing with in the plane of surrender, on the path of surrender, it's a different type of fight, right? And just because it's subtle does not mean it is less, right? To achieve peace, that is also a great accomplishment. There has not been in a ostentatious display, right, of fight and battle and victory and all these things, but that's actually a greater achievement, you could say, to not have to fight. So that is the curious thing, right? And in the case of Hiranyakashipu, he's performing all these impressive physical feats, but to be humble, that would be impossible for him. That would be far more difficult to him, to simply bow his head. He could not do that. That is far more difficult for the ego, right? So it is a curious thing. And so on one level, the path of surrender looks very easy, right? The path of surrender and submission to the Lord, on one level, it is very easy. But from a deeper consideration, it is far more difficult. It is far more difficult to give up our self-centered approach towards reality, to embrace the fact that there is a higher center, and I am subservient to that. I am a loving servant of that higher center. That is very sweet and very simple and very beautiful and harmonious. But from the egoistic point of view, it is impossible. Okay, so we can go on to verse 17.
Shri Brahmovacha Uttishtottishta Bhadram Te Tapa Siddhosi Kashyapa Varadhoham Anuprapto Briyatham Ipsito Varaha.
Lord Brahma said, O son of Kashyapa Muni, speaking to Hiranyakashipu, please get up, all good fortune unto you. You are now perfect in the performance of your austerities, and therefore I may give you a benediction. You may now ask for me whatever you desire, and I shall try to fulfill your wish. And it's interesting, like to see how the devas operate. They're actually incredible diplomats. Like Lord Brahma doesn't come and say like, what the heck are you doing? You're disturbing the whole environment of the universe. Like, please stop this. Like, he's not coming and saying that. He's praising him. He understands he's dealing with a dangerous, extremely arrogant individual and powerful individual. He's praising him. He's flattering him. That's how he starts the conversation. Let me offer you a benediction. It's very, very clever. Purport, Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Skanda Purana, which says that Hiranyakashipu, having become a devotee of Lord Brahma, who is known as Hiranyagarbha, and having undergone a severe austerity to please him, is also known as Hiranyaka. Rakshasas and demons worship various demigods, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, just to take the post of these demigods. This we have already explained in previous verses. Now that is highly demonic, right? To worship someone in order to take their position. And we discussed this last week too, right? This is something that goes on, right, in the world around us. Whereas, previously in the tradition of, worship, service, and so on, there is simply the intention to invite grace. I want your mercy. I want your grace. That is the godly way. Okay, it's 18.
Adraksham aham etam te hritsaram mahat adbhutam tamsha bhakshita dehasya pranahyastishu sherate.
I have been very much astonished to see your endurance in spite of being eaten and bitten by all kinds of worms and ants. You are keeping your life air circulating within your bones. Certainly, this is wonderful. Purport, it appears that even that the soul can exist even through the bones, as shown by the personal example of Hiranyakashipu. When great yogis are in samadhi, even when their bodies are buried and their skin, marrow, blood, and so on have all been eaten, if only their bones remain, they can exist in a transcendental position. Very recently, an archaeologist published findings indicating that Lord Christ, after being buried, was exhumed and that he then went to Kashmir. There have been many actual examples of yogis being buried in trance and exhumed alive and in good condition several hours later. A yogi can keep himself alive in a transcendental state, even if buried not only for many days, but for many years.
Okay. Naitat purvashayaschakrur na karishyanti chapare nirambo dharayet pranam kovai divya samasatam.
Even saintly persons like Brigu, born previously, could not perform such severe austerities, nor will anyone in the future be able to do so. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? Purport, it appears that even if a yogi does not drink a drop of water, he can live for many, many years by the yogic process, though his outer body be eaten by ants and moths.
Vyavasayena tenena dushkarena manasvinam taponishtena bhavata jitoham diti nandana.
My dear son of Diti, with your great determination and austerity, you have done what was impossible, even for great saintly persons, and thus I have certainly been conquered by you. Wow, he's really like laying it thick, laying the praise thick. Because it's like in this moment, there's an emergency going on, right? The universe is totally destabilized because of this energy field that Hiranyakashipu is creating and causing so much disturbance with. So there's an emergency going on. Like, it's not the time to come and give him a lecture. Like, let's just calm the crazy person down, give him what he wants. So some very, very practical lessons, life lessons here. Purport, in regard to the word Jita, Srila Madhva Muni gives the following quotation from the Shabda Nirnoy. Pada bhuttam vashastam cha jita bid uchate budai. If one comes under someone else's control or is defeated by another, he is called Jita. And this is one name of Lord Krishna, right? Jita Krishna. Krishna who is conquered. Why is that so? It is possible by the love of his devotees. Krishna who is conquered by the love of his devotees. Very beautiful name. And Ajita Krishna, that is another name for Krishna, right? Krishna who is unconquerable. And that is normally how one would think of the Lord, that one would think this is a way to praise the Lord. He is unconquerable, no one can defeat him. But the concept of Ajita Krishna, that is something more profound, right? And we see that our Gurudev, he gave both of those names, Ajita Krishna and also Jita Krishna. So Hiranyakashipu's austerity was so great and wonderful that even Lord Brahma agreed to be conquered by him. And that word Jita is used in that verse, right? Of
Tate no compound, like.
Is it Tate? I was thinking Gyane Prayasham.
Or Jnane Prayas, yes, yeah.
Or maybe it's both. I think, yeah. And also in the second verse of Bhagavatam, there's a similar phrase too. So we find this, in the writings of the Bhakti Shastra, I suppose you could say, the scriptures of devotion. This is like a secret, actually, that the Lord finally he can be conquered. Krishna Karshini Cha Sa, right? In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami. Was it five? I think there's five characteristics of pure devotion Rupa Goswami lists in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Didi, do you remember I don't have it in my mind right now with those. Moksha Laguta Krit, I remember is one. That if one has bhakti, one has devotion, mukti will become the whole concept, the aspiration for liberation, moksha, that becomes very insignificant. In the light of the glory of a loving relationship with the Lord, liberation becomes utterly insignificant, right? And I can't remember. Sandra Nanda Vishe Shatma. It is full of joy. Sorry, Kleshagni, that's it. Shubhada, right. That's right. It will destroy all suffering, will bestow all goodness, all auspiciousness, will give all joy, will make liberation look utterly insignificant. And then the last one, Shri Krishna Karshini Chasa, means it will attract Krishna himself. Krishna himself will be moved by that. He will be controlled by that. So this is the ultimate expression of devotion, the ultimate proof that one has real devotion, that the Lord himself will be moved by that, may be controlled by that. And so Jita Krishna, right? Krishna who is conquered, who is controlled by the love of his devotees. His mother is beating him and tying him up. He's carrying his father's shoes on his head, and he's wrestling and being defeated by his friends. And this is the power of devotion. This is the beauty of the Krishna conception. This is the beauty of the Krishna conception. This is the most wonderful thing. Okay. 21.
Atasta asishaha sarva dadhamya sura pungava martasya tehya martasya darshanam na phalam mama.
O best of the Asuras, for this I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, your audience with me will not go in vain. Purport: it appears that human beings and asuras are subject to death, whereas demigods are not. The demigods who reside with Lord Brahma in Satya Loka go to Vaikuntha Loka in their present bodily constructions at the time of the dissolution. Therefore, although Hiranyakashipu had undergone severe austerities, Lord Brahma predicted that he had to die. He could not become immortal or even gain equal status with the demigods. The great austerities and penances he had performed for so many years could not give him protection from death. This was foretold by Lord Brahma. I'm a little puzzled by this, because in other places it is mentioned that the devas are not immortal. Bhagavad Gita also says that. Perhaps it is saying this here because it is for such a long age of time, and they will survive so many dissolutions of the universe. because they live for trillions of years. So perhaps Prabhupada is saying, like, from a relative point of view, they don't die. Because elsewhere it is said that they do ultimately, leave their bodies. And we hear also of some of these devas that their position, it is a post, right? So I'm not sure. Suvasindidi, can you shed any light on that?
I also not sure because they definitely, it says like Lord Brahma in Satyaloka, right? The demigods who reside with Lord Brahma in Satyaloka go to Vaikuntha Loka. But it's also, yeah. So there's different planetary systems. Probably Satyaloka is the highest one, right? That is the within that the 14 world. Satyaloka probably is the highest one. So maybe that is not the same as the other places.
Because there's also that verse in Bhagavad Gita, right? Abrahma bhuvanaloka punar vartino janaha, right? There's also that verse saying everyone from Lord Brahma down to the smallest insect, they all have to undergo rebirth.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe something to look into. But I'm thinking it could just be Prabhupada is saying, from one perspective, it is a type of immortality because it is so long. There's so many dissolutions that the universe will go through, and they survive that. It's a length of time that is inconceivable for us. So perhaps he's saying, but it would be nice to find some conclusion. I will try to do some research on this. I've also heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj talking about this point, and he quotes that line from Bhagavad Gita, saying even Lord Brahma, he is not free from that cycle of samsara. But okay, we'll try to find a resolution on this point. But in any case, the point here is that compared to Hiranyakashipu, Lord Brahma and the Devas live for an inestimable period of time. So he's saying, he's like reassuring him, I have some power. I can help you. I can do something for you. That's the point here. So 22.
Yes. Sri Narada Uvacha Ityuktva Devo Bhakshitangam Pipilikai Kamandalo Jalanakshat Divyena Moga Radhasa.
Sri Narada Muni continued, after speaking these words to Hiranyakashipu, Lord Brahma, the original being of this universe, who is extremely powerful, sprinkled transcendental, infallible spiritual water from his kamandalu upon Hiranyakashipu's body, which had been eaten away by ants and moths. Thus he enlivened Hiranyakashipu. Wow. Purport: Lord Brahma is the first created being within this universe and is powered by the Supreme Lord to create. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. The Adi Dev, or Adi Kavi, the first living creature, was personally taught by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the heart. There was no one to teach him. But since the Lord is situated within Brahma's heart, Brahma was educated by the Lord himself. Lord Brahma, being especially empowered, is infallible in doing whatever he wants. This is the meaning of the word Amoga Radhasa. He tried to restore Hiranyakashipu's original body, and therefore by sprinkling transcendental water from his water pot, he immediately did so.
Tatat Kichaka Valmīkāt sahaojo balanvitah sarvavayava sampanno vajra sampanano samhanano yuva uttitastapta hemabho vibhavasur ivaidasaha.
As soon as he was sprinkled with the water from Lord Brahma's water pot, Hiranyakashipu arose, endowed with a full body, with limbs so strong that they could bear the striking of a thunderbolt. With physical strength and a bodily luster resembling molten gold, he emerged from the anthill a completely young man, just as fire springs from fuel wood. Hiranyakashipu was revitalized, so much so that his body was quite competent to tolerate the striking of thunderbolts. He was now a young man with a strong body and a very beautiful bodily luster resembling molten gold. This is the rejuvenation that took place because of his severe austerity and penance.
Sanirikshyambhare devam hamsavaham upastitam nanama shirasa bhumau tadarshana mahotsavaha.
Seeing Lord Brahma present before him in the sky, carried by his swan airplane, Hiranyakashipu was extremely pleased. He immediately fell flat with his head on the ground and began to express his obligation to the Lord, meaning Lord Brahma. They've put Lord lowercase l here. Purport, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I'll just jump to the translation. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. I am the only enjoyer and the only object of sacrifice. Those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Sorry, I have a phone call. Okay, sorry about that. In effect, Krishna says persons engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent, although such worship is indirectly offered to me. For example, when a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. The process of watering a tree is to pour water on the root. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officers and directors is illegal. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita. In other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that there are many types of yajna performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yajna means Vishnu. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated one should work only for satisfying yajna or Vishnu. The perfectional form of human civilization, known as Varnashrama Dharma, is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore, Krishna says, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the Supreme Master. However, less intelligent persons, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. If, however, anyone has any material desire to be fulfilled, he had better pray for it to the Supreme Lord, and he will thus achieve the desired result. Although that is not pure devotion, Prabhupada is saying. Even if you're praying for something selfish, still better to approach Krishna about it. It is not a perfect prayer, but still you are approaching Lord Krishna. Although Hiranyakashipu offered his obeisances unto Lord Brahma, he was strongly inimical toward Lord Vishnu. This is the symptom of an asura. Asuras worship the demigods as being separate from the Lord, not knowing that all the demigods are powerful because of being servants of the Lord. If the Supreme Lord were to withdraw the powers of the demigods would no longer be able to offer benedictions to their worshippers. The difference between a devotee and a non-devotee or asura is that a devotee knows that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that everyone derives power from him. Without worshipping the demigods for particular powers, a devotee worships Lord Vishnu, knowing that if he desires a particular power, he can get that power while acting as Lord Vishnu's devotee. Therefore, in the Shastra, it is recommended. This is a nice verse. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, free from material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. So akama, or having no desire, or sarva kama, desiring everything, or moksha kama, wanting liberation, whatever it is, just approach the Lord. Just approach the Lord. Enter his care. He will take care of you. Okay, we can go on. Verse 25. So, the simple essence of all of this, right, is that Srila Prabhupada is simply pointing out Krishna is the real source, right? And everyone, all these devas, they're plugged into that original power source of Krishna's energy. So it is simply being said, just go straight to the source. You don't need to go to a little stream here or a little stream there. When there's a great reservoir of water you can directly go to. Go straight to the center, go straight to the heart. Right? And in the same way in our daily lives, right? We are looking for support and protection from this person or that person. We simply go to Krishna, to Guru, please protect me. They are the source. And so often we are crying and disappointed because this person let us down and that person let us down because we're navigating a world of imperfection. So ultimately everyone's going to let us down at one time or another. What can we do? That is the nature of us all. We are imperfect, finite beings. So go to the source of that, the Lord, our gurus, they are the source of that. So we go to them for protection. Like Draupadi, that beautiful example is given of Draupadi also, right? That she's first calling out to her husbands and to other various relatives, and finally she's calling out to Krishna. Finally, she's even giving up her own attempt to protect herself. And she's just calling out to Krishna, putting her arms up, really putting herself at the mercy of her situation and just praying to Krishna, oh, Krishna, Please protect me. And then Krishna responded. There's one place where Srila Sridhar Maharaj is discussing this point, and he says, go to the sky, make the sky your shelter. Like, why you're making some little temporary construction, some little shed, your shelter. Just go out to the sky, make the sky your shelter. So it is like that, and with higher vision, we'll see also how everything that's coming to us, that is his protection. We don't have to hide from it. It is his protection coming to adjust us. And we simply have to develop that vision, open our eyes and see that smiling face looking over us. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Srapasyanti Shuraya Diviva Chakshuratatam. Right? His eye is over everything. His merciful eye. His merciful eye is over everything. So we want to develop this type of broad vision to see that the environment is our friend and the Lord is there behind everything. And that will give us peace. We will experience shanti when we can embrace that type of vision and approach towards the environment. As Prahlad does, right? Prahlad is the ultimate example of that, He's not, he could surely get out of that situation, right? If he tried, right? He tried to pacify his father, or he used some connections, right? He could have avoided all that torture. Of course, this is an extreme example, not to be imitated by ourselves, but it is showing us something about the mood of devotion. Prahlad is not shrinking from that circumstance, and he's seeing the Lord behind it all. And his faith in the Lord's protection was so strong that he was unaffected by all of these tortures. It is a wonderful example to contemplate. Okay, well, maybe we'll read one or two more verses.
Utthaya pranjali prahva ikshmano dusha vibhum harshashru pulakodbhedo gira gadgadaya granat.
Then, getting up from the ground and seeing Lord Brahma before him, the head of the Daityas, so Hiranyakashipu, was overwhelmed by jubilation. With tears in his eyes, his whole body shivering, he began praying in a humble mood, with folded hands and a faltering voice, to satisfy Lord Brahma. Seeing just this, like if this was taken out of context, you would think, oh, what a devotional gentleman, oh, what a beautiful mood he has of humility and devotion. And so it's interesting, right? Because, in the same way, we may come across people in the world, right? They may have so many wonderful qualities, but then you look and see, like, what are they using their qualities for, They could be doing some terrible things, So Hiranyakashipu, he's feeling so indebted to Lord Brahma. But why? Because Lord Brahma is coming to help him achieve his demonic plan. So he's getting emotional about it, But it's all based on extreme selfishness and arrogance.
Shri Hiranyakashipur uvacha Kalpante kala srishtena yondena tamasavritam abhivyana jagat idam swayam jyotis swarochisha atmana trivrita chedham srijat Satyavati Lumpati Rajaha Sattva Tamo Dhamne Paraya Mahate Namaha.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord within this universe. At the end of each day of his life, the universe is fully covered with dense darkness by the influence of time. And then again, during his next day, the self-effulgent Lord, by his own effulgence, manifests, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmic manifestation through the material energy, which is invested with the three modes of material nature. He, Lord Brahma, is the shelter of those modes of nature, Sattva Gun, Raja Gun, and Tamagun. So this is, okay, so right, this is Hiranyakashipu's glorification of Lord Brahma. Purport. The words Abhivyana Jagadidam refer to he who creates this cosmic manifestation. The original creator is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. When Lord Brahma is empowered by Lord Krishna as the engineer, because, we usually say creator, but more specifically, he's the engineer, right? Because the ingredients are coming from the Lord. So when he's empowered as the engineer, he becomes a supremely powerful feature within this universe. The total material energy is created by Krishna, and later, taking advantage of all that has necessarily been created, Lord Brahma engineers the entire phenomenal universe. At the end of Lord Brahma's day, everything up to Swargaloka is inundated with water. And the next morning, when there is darkness in the universe, Brahma again brings a phenomenal manifestation into existence. Therefore, he is described here as he who manifests this universe. Chin Gunan Vrinoti. Lord Brahma takes advantage of the three modes of material nature. Prakriti, material nature, is described here as Tri Vritta, the source of the three material modes. Srila Madhvacharya comments in this connection that Tri Vritta means Prakritya. Thus, Lord Krishna is the original creator and Lord Brahma is the original engineer.
Nama Adhyaya Bijaya Jnana Vijnana Murtaye Pranendriya Mano Buddhi Vikaraye Vyaktim Iyushe.
I offer my obeisances to the original personality within this universe, Lord Brahma, who is cognizant and who can apply his mind and realized intelligence in creating this cosmic manifestation. It is because of his activities that everything within the universe is visible. He is therefore the cause of all manifestations. Purport, the Vedanta Sutra begins by declaring that the absolute person is the original source of all creation. Janma yasya yataha. And we can just mention as a side note, this Janma yasya yataha, right? This is it's the second verse, right, of the Vedanta Sutra. And then Srimad Bhagavatam begins with this phrase, Janma yasya yataha. And so this is used sometimes as evidence, right, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is picking up where the Vedanta left off, right, that there's a natural link from the Vedanta Sutra, which is giving kind of vague, more hazy description of the nature of the Supreme Absolute. But then Srimad Bhagavatam is zooming in and giving a more detailed explanation of what is the source, what is the original divine personal source, right, behind this, vague type of power and absolute presence, that's being referred to in the Vedanta Sutra. So just as a side note there. One may ask whether Lord Brahma is the Supreme Absolute Person. No, the Supreme Absolute Person is Krishna. Brahma receives his mind, intelligence, materials, and everything else from Krishna. And then he becomes the secondary creator, the engineer of this universe. In this regard, we may note that the creation does not take place accidentally because of the explosion of a chunk. So Prabhupada is referring to the Big Bang, right? Debunking the Big Bang. Such nonsensical theories are not accepted by Vedic students. The first created living being is Brahma, who is endowed with perfect knowledge and intelligence by the Lord. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hrida Yadi Kavaye. Although Brahma is the first created being, he is not independent, for he receives help from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his heart. There is no one but Brahma at the time of creation, and therefore he receives his intelligence directly from the Lord through the heart. This has been discussed in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Brahma is described in this verse as the original cause of the cosmic manifestation, and this applies to his position in the material world. There are many, many such controllers, all of whom are created by the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This is illustrated by an incident described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When the Brahma of this particular universe was invited by Krishna to Dwarka, he thought he was the only Brahma. Therefore, when Krishna inquired from his servant which Brahma was at the door to visit, Lord Brahma was surprised. He replied that of course Lord Brahma, the father of the four Kumaras, was waiting at the door. He's thinking, I'm the only Brahma that there is. Later, Lord Brahma asked Krishna why he had inquired which Brahma had come. He was then informed that there are millions of other Brahmas because there are millions of universes. Krishna then called all the Brahmas, who immediately came to visit him. The Chaturmukha Brahma, the four-headed Brahma of this universe, thought himself a very insignificant creature in the presence of so many Brahmas with so many heads. Thus, although there is a Brahma who is the engineer of each universe, Krishna is the original source of all of them. And it's it's a charming pastime, isn't it? And then also, like, if we think of ourselves, how we can become so, puffed up about our small accomplishments, then we see how silly it is, right? And, Lord Brahma, who's the supreme being within our universal system, he's like very small compared to the supreme beings in so many other planetary systems, right? So then what to speak of ourselves, So Sambandha Gyan, right, is very helpful for us. Sambandha Gyan is very helpful. Just simply having a clear understanding of what is our actual position, right? And actually, it's interesting to think real greatness, that comes through devotion, actually, like whatever, if we're seeking greatness in the material world, we can never get very far. We can never get very far. But aspiring to be a devotee, to be a servitor of the Lord, that gives real greatness. That gives real greatness. There's one place in because then you're approaching something infinite, because by the Lord's will and grace, he can bestow us with everything, right? And there's one place in Srimad Bhagavatam where Lord Shiva, he is lamenting, saying that he's saying, oh, I'm so terrible. I once aspired to have a position greater than the Lord. He's saying like, oh, what arrogance I have. I wanted a position greater than the Lord. And Sanatana Goswami is explaining in his purport that what he means by that is that he aspired to be a devotee. Because it is said in so many places that the devotee has a position even greater than the Lord. Right? Madbhakta puja abhyadika, that Krishna is saying, the worship of my devotee, it is greater than the worship of myself, right? So many places we find this. And then going back to what we were saying earlier, right? Jita Krishna. Ye prayaso jita jito piyasi tais trilokyam. In that Bhagavatam verse. One who approaches the Lord in a mood of surrender, they can become so powerful. They can defeat, that original Supreme Lord. He will become subservient to them. So the position of a devotee is the topmost. It is the topmost. So if we want real power, if we want real greatness, then surrender is the best thing. Even if we just calculate it like from a material point of view, to surrender to Krishna, that will yield the greatest return on our whatever investment we may make. So for again, right, that akama sarvakama va, right? Whatever you want, just go to Krishna. If you want power, you want riches, or you don't want any of that, whatever it is, just go to Krishna. You'll get the best return on your energy and the investment of your energy and time and so on. Everything will come to that. And then this is the thing, right? That ultimately, if you do approach Krishna like that, desiring something for yourself, then ultimately you will get to a point by his grace and the grace of his devotees of realizing that none of that means anything, right? Because once you get a touch of the sweetness and beauty of Krishna, you don't care for anything else. You want to become a particle of soil, right? We find so many prayers like that. Duli, right? You just want to be a particle of dust. We read these things, we may think, what? How can they say that? That doesn't make sense. They just want to be a particle of dust. It's because the depth of the fulfillment that is to be found there is so great that one will genuinely feel the most remote connection with this is everything. One will become mad. One will become mad and forget any trace of desire they had for anything else. And Dhruva Maharaj, right? Dhruva Maharaj is the example, right? Dhruva Maharaj, he's offended, right? Because he was neglected by his father. And so he decided to go and he went and did this severe penance in the forest, right? And, he wanted, some type of, maybe revenge is a bit too strong, but, he wanted some, he wanted some position, some acknowledgement. He was angry about how he'd been mistreated. But when he finally got some touch of the Lord's mercy, his mood completely changed, right? And there's that beautiful verse that's recorded where he's saying, I was looking for pieces of broken glass. I was looking for pieces of broken glass. And he said, but I found a diamond. And now that all looks worthless, coming into connection of the beauty, the joy, the sweetness that is to be found in loving servitorship to the Lord, everything else looks so distasteful, broken pieces of glass, so undesirable. So that is the thing, if we can get some touch of that, then then everything will make sense, right? And in the meantime, we are aspiring for that drop. Like we are trying to live like chatak birds, just waiting for that drop that will come and drown us and fulfill us beyond our wildest dreams. And when we get that, then all of these expressions we hear from the devotees and everything, oh, now I understand. We can understand something of the theory now. And it is all very beautiful and very attractive, and we are pulled by that. Right? We are pulled by that. And we've met some great devotees who have that in their heart, and that is also inspiring us and pulling us along. But one day, that day will come, right? This lifetime or next lifetime, that day will come where that touch will come and completely fulfill every hint of longing, aspiration, desire we have. It will all be fulfilled in connection with that sweet reservoir, right? Akila Rasamrita Murti, that is Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami's expression. Krishna's Akila Rasamrita Murti. He is the, Srila Maharaj says emporium, he renders it as emporium. He is the emporium of all rasa. Everything, every last trace of desire that we may have for this, that, and whatever thing, it is all to be found in connection with Krishna. Yesterday, I had such a nice talk with Sudarshan and Raikishori, and Sudarshan shared this beautiful talk he heard from Srila Prabhupada, where he was speaking, this verse in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is saying, I am the taste of water, right? And Prabhupada was saying, because as I understood, Sudarshan said the word is actually rasa, because rasa also means liquid, right? So rasa can mean water, right? So I believe we can double check, but that the verse is actually saying like, I am the taste of rasa, right? And then Prabhupada was saying, Krishna is saying, I am the taste of all liquid, right? And then Prabhupada was saying, so the drunkard, who's drinking his liquor, he is tasting Krishna, actually, right? He's so enamored by that taste, he can't stop, But actually that taste, that enjoyment is coming from Krishna. And so he said, Srila Prabhupada said, if that drunkard will make that connection with Krishna and think, oh, this taste that I'm enjoying, this is actually coming from Krishna, that if he will make that connection, he will become purified by that. He will become purified by that. So we can think that, right, in whatever ways we are seeking pleasure in this world, if we make that consideration, Krishna is actually the source, of that. Whatever it is I'm searching for and getting some little tiny hint of joy in, Krishna is the original source of that, and it is existing in him in an unlimited degree. Right? So as we were hearing earlier, right, in the earlier purport today, why waste our time? Let us go straight to the source of that sweetness. Shinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha, right? You are all children of nectar. Don't waste your time, with anything less than that. You don't deserve anything less than that. So awake, arise, search out your own birthright, what is really yours, actually. And we're so fortunate. This whole line of revelation has come into this world. This clarion call has come. Come, this is for you. Don't forget what is really your wealth, right? Buried beneath your own home. It is yours. It is on your doorstep. So do not neglect that all-important search, right? Search for Shri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. Okay, well, we will stop there for today. Does anyone want to add any comments or questions before we close for today? We had Bimal Krishna join us. Dandavat. Divi Shakti Didi is also with us. Nazar Kimberly. So good to see you all. Chaitanya Doya. Good. Yes, Ramananda Prabhu.
That was Vishaka Didi. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful class. You remind me, Guru Maharaj say also, awake arise, search for Shri Krishna, reality is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, well, wish you all a happy Saturday. Yes, Bimal Prabhu, you want to say something?
I just want to make a request, please. If you see your sister Ashi and Nitai while you're in Salt Lake City, please send them our love.
I'm with them right now. I'm with them right now. I'm staying at my sister's place. Lovely home today. You have an old friend who wants to say hello.
Hey,
Hey, Malnishta.
Hey.
How's it going,
happy to see you
Guys.
This is
We
my
just wanted to
sister
send our
Ashi
love.
and her husband Nitai. Hi everyone. Nice to see you.
All right, thank you. We just wanted to send our love. I knew she would probably see you, and I haven't seen you forever, so
It's been way too long. Yeah. Sending big love to both of you too. And Divya Shakti also, was talking about yesterday.
Happy to see you. Dandavat.
They're cooking lunch.
All right.
I'm so glad he said that.
Thank you. Dandavat to you all. Happy to see you all.
Okay, Dandavat everyone. Wish you a happy Saturday and see you next time. Jai Gurudev.